Hello and welcome to my office here in beautiful Hamburg, Germany. I'm not sure what makes it look much different from my previous offices I've had, other than the fact that my Commodore Amiga 2000 here can actually be hooked up without a converter. Anyways, this video is called simply How I Moved to Germany, and it's based off an AMA I did on the American subreddit. So I figured I'd go ahead and I'd kind of answer some questions I got both during and after that AMA, along with some viewers of my main channel. For those curious, I haven't really been super active as a YouTuber the past few months because I've really been enjoying living in Germany, because we have things like the Deutschland Ticket and decent transit, and I've gotten really into hiking again. If there are any other questions you have, ask in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. One thing I would like to start off with that wasn't asked either, but that I do think is important to go through is, what was the actual process of moving to Germany? So a bit of context about me. I've lived all over the world throughout my life. I was born in Texas, spent all except for like the past year and some of my adult life in Victoria, BC, Canada, along with a lot of my teenage life. How do I put this? I'm not a stranger to dealing with visas and whatnot, and I was warned specifically about bureaucracy. So in 2021, we moved from Victoria, BC to Ohio because of a job opportunity I had. And I realized that Victoria, BC, compared to most of Canada, is very walkable. For those curious where I was then, I was in James Bay, so super walkable. And moving to Ohio made me realize just how car dependent the States is, and I hate driving. And for the first bit, I thought I was just gonna kind of have to grin and bear it, because obviously everywhere is like this. And I discovered Not Just Bikes channel. And then despite being close to family and friends while we were there, slowly throughout the year, more and more transphobia started happening, even in our area. For those curious, we were in Lakewood, which is a very famously queer positive place. So what I started looking into moving to Europe, because I originally thought, okay, well, you know, my career feels like it's stagnating here and I'm bored and I don't like the pace of life. So I looked into going back for a master's. Fun fact about Germany, public university education here, like for the most part, obviously there's always an asterisk, public higher education like universities and stuff that you can get in are free, and a lot of master's programs are even taught in English. So I got the stuff together to apply for a master's program, and part of that was putting my personal resume into a German format. So German resumes, compared to like an American style one, are multiple pages long. They include your signature at the end, they include a picture of you, and yes, they do actually want you to list like your hobbies and stuff. I did that and I was like, well, I wanted to work for this. So I just put it up on LinkedIn, and then suddenly companies started reaching out to me through LinkedIn, which encouraged me to start looking around for jobs I thought I might just like here and applying. And that's how I ended up with my current company, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. I'm like the one fine arts student who actually is doing an arts related job after graduation, and I'm really happy with it. As a US citizen, same goes if you're like British or Canadian, or I think from like Japan, you can enter into the EU, so not just Germany, but the entire EU Schengen area, so that's the entire border-free zone, for up to 3 months without a visa. However, you cannot work upon entry. So what I did is we thankfully had some family who were near the nearest German embassy, stayed with them for a couple months, very gracious. And we applied for an entry visa while in the States. This was not required, but it would mean I would be allowed to work upon entry. The great thing about Germany is that they have huge notice periods, so there was already a 3-month gap baked in between me getting my job offer and my first day of work. We did have to reschedule our flight though, because the German consulate we went to where we applied for the visa was like, yeah, most things we process in 10 to 12 days. They took 4 weeks, like on the dot, 4 weeks. This was the one thing that took longer than expected. I found out what it is because I'm trans, not all of my documents, some of them still have my dead name on them and some of them don't. So we had to get that clarified, but like everything else was really good. And actually it was really sweet when I found out this thing because I went in to actually pick up my Visa card, because here's the thing as well, they actually had to keep my passport. It wasn't just a stamp, it was like a full-on like biometric sticker they like applied to a page of my passport. But the lady in there who like, she'd been very cold and very stereotypically like German bureaucracy when I went the first time. And I went in to pick it up and she was like, "You just have a lovely trip to Hamburg, ma'am." She was very sweet. So we actually got to Hamburg. We had a furnished apartment for our first several months. One thing I'd say is that if you're going to an apartment, even a temporary furnished one, join your local Mieterverein or service like Connie, who has like lawyer support. It's important. Let's say you have an issue like, say, getting your caution, which is or caution. And we just pronounce it like a Texan. Your caution back, which is your security deposit. They can pretty much just send threatening letters on your behalf that are legally binding and get that paid, so that's neat. I was able to start working, and then from there we also need to apply for residency permits while within Germany. There's a few things you need to definitely get started on your first couple weeks in Germany. So the first thing you might want to do is get a bank account and a phone plan. But to get those in Germany, you need to do your Anmeldung, which is quite literally your address registration. The reason you have to do that, I don't know traditionally, but I do know a big reason for it now is because if you live in, say, a condo, your unit doesn't have a number. Your name is literally part of your address, and your last name will be listed on your doorbell and on your mailbox. So wherever you are, it depends on, doing your Anmeldung can vary. Some cities or states in Germany charge for it, some don't. Hamburg was really cool because while they did charge, they then gave us 2 weeks of free public transit within the cities, and also vouchers that got us like half off at Miniature Wonderland and the zoo, which is really neat. The thing with the Anmeldung, along with going in to get your actual residency permit, is everyone warned me beforehand like, oh, you gotta do it purely in German. I can't speak for the rest of Germany, but at least in Hamburg, I'd be like, I'd say like one line in my terrible borderline B1 level German, and they'd be like, yeah, that's cool. You want to do this in English? There was a lot of paperwork as well, but the one time I missed a paper, and I think it's when, not when we went for my husband's permit, but when we went for mine, they quite literally just printed it off there and let me fill it in. Maybe I've just been really lucky with both the Bürgeramt and the Ausländerbehörde, but that was my experience. We're also pursuing some citizenship by descent stuff because my husband, based on their family, is able to, so that's neat. Let's talk about moving stuff over. How do you move your belongings? That's one of the questions. So we downsized heavily. We actually do have some stuff in storage with family in the States right now. And for those who are planning to do an LCL, which is a less than container shipment, but pretty much everything we can do without, we got rid of. How are you liking living in Hamburg? I love Germany. I've been to several cities there, but I haven't had the chance to go to Hamburg. Do you feel like I could say that's feasible to live in and work for someone who's an English speaker with limited German skills? And absolutely, I'd say most people here speak very good English. Obviously, please go up and try to ask an order in German. It's just polite. At the very least, try to get out a Sprechen Sie English, you know. Most folks here speak excellent English, and I can't count the number of times I've asked for, say, directions somewhere, and someone's be like, yeah, oh, sorry, I don't speak very good English, and then they proceed to give me directions in clear, more properly enunciated English than I, a native English speaker, speak. And if worse comes to worse, there's no shame in using Google Translate for like a sign or something. It's fine. You see it all the time. As for how I actually like Hamburg, it's easily my favorite city I've ever been to, ever. And I think within the first 3 months, we decided that this was a place, and when I say we, I mean not the rural we, but we as in my husband and I, decided this was a city we really like and want to spend a lot of time in. How is the housing situation in Hamburg? Is it better than Berlin? Is it good? No. Is it better than Berlin from what I've heard? Yes. So here's my tips for Hamburg. Really do the temporary let for like 3 to 6 months and while you search for a house, you will need it, or an apartment. You can get a place for about 1/3 the cost as most major metros in the States. It took us several months, but the caveat is once we expanded our search to south of the Elbe, which for some reason is way less desirable than a more affluent northern part of the river, we started getting like tons of showings and such. And then once I started using ChatGPT to write my German language inquiry letters on places, we went from just getting showings to actually having a few different apartment offers to choose between. I really like ours actually. We have some really beautiful built-ins and also a walk-in closet. But one thing that is neat that I was never a thing I'd ever had in a place before in the States, not even a house, or in Canada for that matter, is we have a basement. What are your thoughts on the Deutschland Ticket? So, for context, in May of this year, originally it was going to be January, and in April it got pushed back, the German government rolled out something called the Deutschland Ticket. And basically every transit agency and state in Germany agreed in this thing where for 49 euros a month, you can ride every ferry, every bus, every tram, every metro, and even all of the trains except the high-speed ones in the country for 49 euros a month. Except my company's actually cool and gives like a little transit stipend, so we're not even paying that, and I love it. We've been going to various beaches on the weekends for the past month. We like to go to Bremen a lot. I really like Bremen, and that's only a couple hours away. So yeah, Deutschland Ticket is amazing, and I don't think I will ever own a car again. I would very much so like to own an e-bike. Did you being trans affect you in any ways in Germany or Canada? Yeah, so I did notice something that's really interesting about being trans. First off, heads up for any trans people, Germany is not an informed consent country. So I was warned about this beforehand, and so a lot of doctors will still make you go through like 3 months with a therapist to be really sure you're trans, which is just ridiculous. But what I did is I went to my doctor in the States, who also had, I brought my records from Canada when I started seeing him at the end of 2021. And he wrote a letter that detailed what my medications were, how long I've been out publicly, how long he'd been seeing me, and how long I'd been on HRT in general. And then I gave that to my doctor here in Germany, and she just put me on the same prescriptions I had in the States and gave me a rec for an endocrinologist for blood work, which is great. Healthcare in Germany is way more accessible, especially medications, with just public health insurance here in Germany that most people have. Mine's through TK for those wondering. It literally costs me like $5 every time I go to pick up my entire like slate of prescriptions. It's great. Also, every doctor I visited in Germany also speaks excellent English, so you know that's a thing as well. Now, socially speaking, while Canada, especially Victoria, was very accepting, I feel like I was always very specifically seen as a trans woman. While in Hamburg, which is famously queer and has like the Reeperbahn and St. George and some really excellent queer cafes, which is great because I prefer cafes with my husband over bars. I feel like it's the one place I've ever lived where I'm just seen as a woman, not specifically a trans woman. And it's been probably one of the most affirming experiences I've ever had in my life. So I've really loved it. Also, I've met no less than 3 other trans girls, at IKEA. So, you know, very...
Damn shark.
That damn shark. Here's another one. For many Germans, Canada is quite a popular place to emigrate to. It's sometimes known tongue-in-cheek as the US, but without all the problems. Why do you decide to leave and go the other way? I spent my entire adult life in Canada. I got a great degree there. And I definitely felt like it was time for a change. Germany has a much higher population density in the US of Canada. Has a lack of vast tracts of wilderness affected you much? And the answer is no. Especially going to like parts of Lower Saxony when we're going past farms and stuff, it reminds me of a far less Trumpy equivalent of the area where I spent a lot of my childhood in Texas. So it's actually really lovely for me in that sense. The only caveat to that is in the spring we also get severe pollen like we did when I was growing up in Texas, and it just sets off my allergies like nothing else. Do you feel like you have to spend a lot more time or energy planning everyday life in Germany than you do in the States? Like, did you notice it's harder to get things, for example, on Sundays when everything is closed? What's nice is we quite literally live across the street from a grocery store and then down the street from another grocery store. So usually how it works is Friday or Saturday we do a grocery trip for the whole weekend. But because we're so close, we don't do grocery shopping for the week or for the month. We plan out a few meals and then we do grocery shopping for the next few meals, and that's it. Planning around Sunday is, like, it was annoying at first, but actually it's really nice. And it kind of feels like we have an okay to take every Sunday to just chill out around the house or go hiking or even have a picnic. A lot of folks have said it's notoriously difficult to make friends in Germany. Have you had any issues making friends? And the answer is no, because we've been playing that on easy mode. If you've been a longtime viewer of the channel, you might remember my friend Frank, who actually gave me the Amiga right here. And he actually is German. He's from Germany. So between Frank and several other friends when I was in university, not to mention, but having some family just north of the border in Denmark, I haven't really felt alone, and I haven't really had much trouble like having a social circle there. But I will be honest, I'm really not the person to answer that question, because I'm playing making friends in Germany on easy mode. You know, it's kind of that annoying thing of it's easiest to make friends when you already have friends that you spend time with, if that makes sense. What's your experiences with finding doctors here, particularly as you don't speak fluent German? Fun fact, TK, who we have our public health insurance from, anyone can use this, but their website actually has a doctor search, and you can search for house arts, which is like a GP, or like a therapist, or a dentist, or an optometrist, or a podiatrist, or whatever. You can not only search in English on their site, but they have a section where you can filter based on which language the doctor speaks. It took me about 2 weeks to schedule my first appointment with my doctor, and thanks to that, I knew for a fact that I wouldn't have any issues just doing the entire thing in English. Some American friends have commented that it feels strange living in a country where religion is a private matter. Have you noticed this or think the comparison is misplaced? I don't know, I'm Jewish. But no, I think it's a little misplaced, I'd say. There are some really cool traditions here, like Easter in Germany goes so hard. There's an event here in our part of Germany called Osterfeuer, where quite literally we go down to one of the beaches on Easter Day, and they just gather a bunch of wood together and arrange it into an effigy of the ghost of winter, and then they set it on fire. And that's how you celebrate Easter in Germany, and it's amazing. Are you planning to buy an actual house in Germany someday? I hear buying is very expensive. Like a house? Sure, someday. I actually really like where we're currently living. I feel like we have enough space to make this home for however long we want. And finally, what's your opinion on Deutsche Bahn? Deutsche Bahn is consistently late, but what's nice about living in Metro Hamburg is that I'm mostly relying on the U-Bahn and S-Bahn, so it's not too bad. I will say whenever we take like an RB or an RE train, if I need a connection, I try to schedule at least half an hour between them because it is a problem. But somehow, due to having the Deutschland ticket, I feel like I'm not as annoyed as a lot of people are because I'm like, I don't know, at least I'm not having to pay a ton for it. Not only that, but like a lot of the trains, at least like that I've been on lately, have pretty decent free Wi-Fi on board. And I'd rather be on a late train with free Wi-Fi than like stuck in traffic driving. So that's my take. Let me know if there's anything I left out. I tried to get all of it best I can. I really love it here and I've really enjoyed moving here. And if you want my recommendation for a place to go in Hamburg that a lot of people don't know about, you should go to Aki Running Sushi near the Hauptbahnhof because it's super good and it's all you can eat conveyor belt sushi for $10. That's the note I'm ending on. See ya, everyone.